The Modern Jeeper Show, the show about Jeeps, Jeeping, and Jeepers.
Well, hey, Modern Jeepers, another episode of the Modern Jeeper Show with me, Matt from MetalCloak, and Mr. Modern Jeeper, Corey Osborne.
Hey, buddy.
Rockstar Jeep girl, Jessy.
Hello.
Yeah, I should have said, hey, Modern Jeepers. It's finally another episode. I mean, gosh, it's like we've been so busy. It's just become kind of secondary. And we apologize to all of our fans who are raging out there, wondering where we are, especially those who have like their Thursday morning routine. Here's my recommendation. We have so many great episodes you probably haven't listened to that if you do miss us, please go back and find and listen to an archive story and let us know which one you listen to, because we want to know which ones are more popular. So let us know.
It's been funny. I've even gone back and gone, oh yeah. We've done so many episodes over the last few years that it's fun to go back and go, I remember that. Oh, I forgot we even did that, or we talked about this. Usually it's our listeners that will hit Jessy and I up at an event and go, oh man, I just listened to this topic. And it's like, we talked about that? Oh yeah, I guess we did.
Well, the funny thing is what we did
last week, and
what we normally do this time of the year. Do you know what we normally do this time of the year that we're not doing this year?
What?
The $5,000 giveaway.
Our giveaway, the big giveaway.
Yeah, our big giveaway. We usually do that this time of the year, but it's been so crazy we haven't been able to do that. So maybe we'll do that, guys. Maybe we'll do that next month. Maybe we'll do that like as a Christmas giveeway or something.
Yeah, but, I a shout out to our followers and our listeners, because guys, you have to understand. I mean, in the last couple of weeks, I think I've talked to Mattson for maybe a couple of minutes. Mm-hmm. Literally, there's been so much going on. There's been these huge sales. Shout out to everybody at MetalCloak. We haven't talked since we were coming back, I think, from our last tour. Since then, we've had Philip and Tracy and their couple of kids here at our house. We had a wedding here at the house. I've had surgery since we've talked last. I mean, the folks have seen pictures of it online. I just had some stitches out today, like 27 of them. Looking like a little beat up still. It's not Halloween anymore. But,
all this cover up about surgery and black eyes. Like, come on, Jessy, lay off him a little bit, okay?
I mean,
he's a pretty docile guy. He doesn't need to be beat up that much.
Yeah, I know.
I felt bad during their wedding. Like and we wanted to get a lot of pictures of them. Of course, it was all about Philip and Tracy's wedding, and I'm like, we don't want any pictures of me. I'll put my sunglasses on and turn my head the other way so I
get
can
a picture from this side.
Yeah, hey, how you doing? Yeah, it's
and then I had to sneak in making a cake for him because Tracy didn't know anything about it.
So Jessy actually made a cake in the middle of it all, and
wow,
I mean, did the wedding cake, the whole, it was really cool, and kudos to those guys for allowing us to be a part of their lives. Philip has helped us out so many events all over the country. And we hope to see now their newly cloaked rig out on trails, and hope to see more of those guys. So,
well, definitely. And if, for those who are interested, it's only a $15,000 fee, and you too can have a wedding at Corey and Jesse's house.
That's right. Yeah. It's not cheap, but it's not that good. But
it's $15,000. It's an experience. And if you do it the right time of the year, you can even get a little wheeling out of it. So
that's right.
Reach out to Corey at MetalCloak.com and book him. I only take a 10% fee.
That's right.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know where to start, dude. We've had so much going on in the last couple of weeks that
it was 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yeah, it's been 2 weeks.
Yeah, it has. It's just, it is kind of crazy because it's hard. It is hard to do these kind of shows where you have this gap, because anyway, I don't care whether it's like we provided a best of show or not, or still a gap in the communication. But for everybody who's listening, Corey's right. Like, the reason we started this podcast in the first place is Corey and I were talking every single day. And I'm like, we should record these conversations. We should make a podcast out of this. And so it evolved to that. And now we're at a point where, like, we barely talk. Like, sometimes our conversations have been the 10, 15 minutes before we start recording. then record, and then maybe 10 or 15 minutes afterwards, and then go on. And then it's just like there's some emails back and forth and things like that. But which is as a business owner, it's amazing to have a contractor, a friend, or somebody out there who's doing stuff that I don't need to talk to every single day, because there's plenty of guys here I have to talk to every single day because they're not getting their stuff done. So it's
there's definitely something that goes both ways, and it's funny how when I say that we haven't had these conversations, people go, yeah, well, you're just home, sitting out in the grass and watching the sky go by, and it's cool because we have such a good relationship with the company that we do work for, that they know that we don't really do that a whole lot. I mean, right. I've got a desk full of stuff right now. I feel like we just got home. We were working. I was working on this year-end review, and we've been on the road, and up to the beginning of November, 223 days we've been in a hotel, and we're not done. We still have a lot of jobbers to hit. We still have a lot of stuff going on for the remainder of the year. But to work for somebody who understands that, yeah, it's okay. We're still busy, even though we may not have like a whole bunch of events going on right now. It's a different time of year, and this time of year is always about veterans. It's about Thanksgiving, and it's about the holidays and spending time with family. We have Christmas coming up. We have the end of the year coming up, which is just crazy to me.
And a project list a mile long.
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
literally.
The true honeydew list that goes both ways. Honey, and honey, right? Like it's not just I have a one way. I have a one-way honeydew list at my home. It's just like here's the spreadsheet. My wife created a spreadsheet. There's so many things to do. She created a spreadsheet for me to like tackle these little projects. And then I'm like, okay, cool. Unless I use my kids as the hammers, I just can't do the project because I'm managing the kiddos and blah, 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 blah. But yeah. So I figure one project a month is about my rate. So I'll get the list done sometime in 2027.
Yeah. And even for us, we came home and it was like, we hadn't been here for so long.
Yeah.
So literally it takes us about a week to kind of even get in the groove of, oh, we're home. And all of the things that need to get taken care of immediately, things like, we had to get wood pellets for the heat in the house because we had some snow and it got cold. And that doesn't sound like a big deal until you consider it's 40-pound bags. It's a full 2,000 pounds. It's a ton. I always say I buy a ton of pellets a year. Yeah, no, literally, I buy a literal ton of pellets a year. Wow. And carrying those 40-pound bags from out in the driveway up to the house. Yeah, that's a workout. That's a half of a day. Like, yeah. It's all those little things, though.
That's why Corey doesn't need that. That's why Corey and Jessy they don't need CrossFit, right? They're doing it. It's like live on a piece of property where you have to move stuff around, like pellet bags, and you too can be in shape.
You too can figure out how to.
That's a whole nother program now. Now you need to have you have the wedding program for $15,000 a wedding, right? And then you have the $5,000 weight loss program.
The weight loss program.
Program. Well, it depends on what food options you get, because you could do the weight gain program where Jessy just fills you up constantly.
Yeah, she just could. Yeah.
So if you're a little anorexic, need some weight gain, Jess can take care of that. If you're obese and you need to lose weight, Corey can take care of that. So,
well, I've got a couple things on my desk here. And one of the things is something that we talked about in a prior episode. And this was given to us by our friends in Oklahoma at Off-Road Addiction. This is one of the bearing races. We had talked about some of the guys doing gear changes in the JLs and JTs, and how the bearings, the tubes actually they aren't perfectly round. And so they're pulling these races out and the bearings aren't in contact with the race itself. And I know it's going to be extremely hard to see this, but you can see this black groove. But then all of a sudden, that black groove gets skinnier and skinnier around the race. Well, that black groove is where the actual bearings are riding. So if it had great contact, that groove would be pretty solid up and down here. But as you can see in this spot here, it gets a little, and
Interesting.
again, it was brought to Jeep's attention, and they kind of went, yeah, well, it's not really a problem because you guys are doing upgrades or work aftermarket. If the carrier had never been taken out, if the locker had never been taken out, and you guys are switching stuff around, this would never be a problem.
Well,
yeah, that's kind of an interesting thing, and they're actually going back and putting in the stock bearing races and whatnot because the contact patterns match up better. But I don't know where this will end up. I don't know if Jeep will end up going, oh, okay, so Mr. Manufacturers at Dana, whoever's making the axle tubes, the center sections, that kind of thing. I don't know if this will become a problem down the road, but I thought it was very interesting. It's something that we don't see a lot of, and we don't hear it. Nobody's talking about this particular thing yet. Maybe they'll talk about it later when things start failing. I don't know.
Well, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see because the rumor is that Dana may be moving all their manufacturing overseas, right? And which is interesting because which is hard for me to totally get in because I know they built the brand new manufacturing plant right next to Jeep before the JL came out, right? Because they wanted to start manufacturing right then and there. So I don't know if that's going to maintain, if it's all their manufacturing, if it's just some of their reseller, their OEM replacement product manufacturing, like what they're actually going to do. So nothing's been confirmed. It's just the rumors.
Right.
But it could be an issue of quality control just at their own location. I mean,
it very, very well could be. I mean, who knows? I mean, I think it's odd that we're seeing that from a manufacturer, and the manufacturer is going, huh, that's odd. But I don't know. Like I said, it hasn't been a problem yet. No. So we'll see where it goes.
Well, it's a problem for somebody.
Exactly. So this morning I had we were fortunate enough to have a very long conversation with our friend David Schumacher. David is the one of the lead sales guys for Full River Battery. We've talked about Full River Battery in the past, and their support that they've given us. We've talked about the different, Odyssey and Optima and how those batteries just aren't what they used to be. I'm going to share. I'll put up on the screen here David's contact information on Facebook. You can kind of see how he spells his name. Maybe David Schumacher.
Yeah, Schumacher.
Yeah, he's the director of sales in the southern U.S. of Full River Battery USA. Folks know from our prior podcasts that I used to run Optima. We always had good luck with those. Those have changed. One of the discussions that we had today was literally about what are the differences in these newer batteries and why things are going poorly for some brands and Full River and Full Throttle batteries.
That used to be good and now they're not good anymore, kind of thing.
Yeah, so literally it comes down to the quality of lead. And we all know, I mean, an AGM battery, a flooded cell battery, there's still lead plates inside there. I never realized that it really does make a difference. Odyssey battery, or not Odyssey, Optima, I believe has gotten lighter. So in the last 3-4 years, they're now 2-3 pounds lighter. Well, that's because they're using less lead. Companies like Odyssey and Optima as well. And I'm using those two brands just as because people know those two brands very well. But it's the quality of lead. So if you're using virgin lead, is what Full River and Full Throttle batteries, they're using the purest lead they can get, whereas these other batteries are actually using a refined process. So if you think about this, how does the battery work and where does the energy come from? If that lead is impure, if there's impurities in the lead, there's going to be more resistance. So the purer the lead, the better capability the battery has to store energy. So in some of these other batteries that aren't lasting as long, this impure lead that literally and again, our listeners know, our followers know, we've done more to these batteries in the last 3-4 years than we used to. It used to be the battery that starts your car. That's all we really did. Now we've got refrigerators plugged into them. We're running winches off these batteries. High-powered lights, even though they're LED lights, that's still a significant more draw than what a typical battery just sits there. So like on my LJ, that battery, I've had that in the Jeep for about 4 years. And you know what? It has been pulled to zero a number of times. And the cycles that a battery goes through, that's very detrimental. The batteries aren't made to go to zero and come back up, zero, come back up. They're just, that is very abusive. And the battery in the LJ, because of the winching, the recoveries that we've done, and the fact that it sits in the garage and might not go anywhere for 6 months at a time, that's just very detrimental to a battery. So we got a full lesson about the reason that the full river and full throttle batteries are doing it better. And the quality of that lead is making a difference.
It's
Jessy's,
more expensive.
It's more expensive.
It lasts longer.
Her JK has been sitting in the garage since she tore a control arm off the JK last Easter. So that's been a long time. I went out and checked the battery and it was at 5 volts. 5. That's not good. That battery, once a battery gets below about 7 volts, typically they just go, yeah, it's unrecoverable and it's done. Well, I put a 2 amp charger on that battery for 24 hours, hooked up the full throttle charger to it, their FC high-end, high-frequency charger, and that battery is fine. Does it have a reduced life? Probably a little bit, but the fact that that battery can take that kind of abuse, it's cool. We've always talked about we do business with people that we like to do business with. Even if they have a good product, it's even a bonus. But 9 times out of 10, if they're good business people and they have a poor product, they're going to make that product better over time. And a guy like David, somebody that I can reach out to and I can ask questions of, that's huge. I can't call Mr. Optima. I can't call Mr. Odyssey battery guy. I can call one of their representatives, but I can never talk to the actual person. So again, shout out to those guys. The education, we will get them on the podcast one of these days. We just have
full
to plan.
Of knowledge. He's so full of knowledge, and I've learned even a lot because I didn't know a whole lot about batteries either. So he's got a lot of good feedback on the batteries that we have and have taught us how to maintain our batteries better, especially since we're overlanding. We have the refrigerator running all the time and all the recovery we do as well. So, and they've held up for many years. So it's been great with the whole full throttle batteries.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Yeah. Battery 101 would be awesome.
Yes, for sure.
There's a lot we don't know about it. I mean, it was interesting. I heard Elon just talking about charging and why on a Tesla, your last 20% takes a lot longer than your first 80%.
Yes.
And it's true about any battery, right? Because you're putting the electrons into place, and and when it's almost empty, it has a lot of places to go.
That's right.
But the fuller it gets, the less space it has.
Yeah, you can think of it. It's the absorption phase where if there has been some I lost the word, sulfide, some buildup, if the battery hasn't been used and those plates start to corrode and you start to throw electrons, you throw a bunch of power into that battery to charge it back up, it has to basically break up some of that sulfate going on, and that's easy. So you give it 10 amps for a period of time and it kind of gets back up, like you said, it gets back up to that point, and then it'll slow way down, and it only will take maybe 2-3 amps as it starts to fill up that side where things are getting tighter and tighter. So yeah.
I mean, I've spent a lot of money on batteries lately. I had to buy 2 new batteries for the RV. It was interesting that the RV sat out, unused in MetalCloak for about a year. We put a charger on it, an old school charger, one we had around here for a couple, I don't know how long, and it plugged in, charged it up, no problem. Brought it to my house, hadn't been using it, or actually I think one of the kids left a light on or something inside, and it just drained it down, and it drained it down to nothing. And so I went down and bought a little charger, and charger wouldn't recognize it. And the charger wanted there to be some sort of level of charge in there, right? I put a trickle charger on to see if I could raise it up a little bit, and of course, with the 2 big batteries, designed for a big diesel truck, it just didn't do anything over 2 or 3 days. So ultimately, just pulled them and bought new ones, right? And it was almost easier to just do that, spend another $500 on batteries than to try to get those ones back up to snuff. Because quite frankly, they're probably not going to be worth it when you want to be out and have something reliable. You're middle of no place, and you start up your RV, and all of a sudden it doesn't start because your batteries are close to shot.
Well, it is funny, and he brought it up that he said, so many people just, well, this battery's toast, and you just buy another one, because even when you're not buying a pair of them for like an RV or a bank of batteries, or even in a Dodge pickup that has 2 batteries in it, if you're just talking about a single battery, even though it might be a $300 battery, if we're abusing these batteries, they're not going to last 5-6 years like we used to get out of them. There's way more things going on that we're doing to them. So again, and the quality of lead has changed. The manufacturers are trying to reduce their costs. So even though that battery still may be $300, well, they're saving some money. They're making more on that battery than they did in the past. So again, it's all of those things, which kind of brings me to the next guy that we met.
We kind of talked about it.
Yeah, we talked about it briefly. This guy, his name of his company is Distinction Applied. So I'll show his business card there. And, it's unfortunate that we met him at the end of the season. And this was a friend of Mike G. Mike G from Taser actually introduced us to him. But, it's kind of fun when people are we're always looking, it's no different than the people that are looking for the best suspension products, and they're going and they end up on MetalCloak's website. You do your homework, that's where you end up. Well, this guy takes factory parts and does a simple job. He paints them factory colors. He's got the factory paint codes. And oh, by the way, his parts, these are OEM parts. So these aren't like the dash pieces. Everybody wants to paint their dash, and they take their red dash out of their Rubicon or their gray dash out of their Sport or whatever it is, and they want to do custom things with it. These have the original OEM stickers in them. So literally you can be assured that the fit is going to be great. The paint quality is flat out amazing. And guess what? They're not cheap because you're getting a high quality part. But what he does do is he will send you these, and then you send him back your stock pieces.
It's kind of like a core
charge. And he does all things Jeep. He does the door handles. He does, the hood latches. He does the cowl vent on the outside. He'll do anything that is on a Jeep
or anything for that matter.
Yeah, you can. He does some hydro dip stuff. He does custom stuff, like if you want a custom color or whatever. But again, one of those guys that we kind of came across, and what a nice guy, and what a guy who's very proud of what he does and what he builds. It's pretty cool.
We'll have an article up on it soon after I get it in the Jeep and take pictures. I took pictures of his rig that he had on display. He had like half and half of stock and half of what he did, and it's pretty amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that was in Ocala, and he's in Florida. He's actually in Hernando, Florida. But you can check out distinctionapplied.com for a little bit of what he does. Again, everybody's wanting to modify their Jeeps and make them their own. And he's one of those guys that's making it easier for everybody to do that.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. And it's I like it when people are using their talent, God-given talent to actually do something like that, right?
Yeah.
I have all kinds of talents. I'm not sure I really use them here. I'm just,
Hey, I resemble that remark. Okay, one more before I know we're going to do a short podcast today, but we just replaced that windshield in Jesse's rig, and shout out to these guys. We finally got a chance to talk in depth with them at Myrtle Beach Racing Optics. I think when we talked to them like a year ago, they have you remember motorcycle tear-offs? Like, yeah. So these guys basically do the same thing for your Jeep. There's 3 sheets, 3 giant tear-offs on your windshield. The shipping was, she's gonna take it out of the tube and wreck it. So it is thick. That 3 layers is a pretty thick piece. We saw one of their Jeeps that had it installed there. For what a windshield costs. I think when we talked to them a year ago, I recall it being like, it was like $350. And I remember going, no, that isn't going to work. These guys have shows, specials, and they have sales and things like that. We paid $190 for that. And that was their show price at Myrtle Beach. If it saves that windshield from a couple of rock chips, I'm sold. It's worth it. Like, to not have to replace that windshield again.
They're getting expensive and more expensive. So it's a no-brainer at that point.
Yeah.
It's a great idea. I mean, the reality, and you said it's 3 layers. So you basically put it on there. How is it installed? Pretty easy to install? I mean, is it like...
So we haven't installed it yet, of course, but we've watched a lot of videos. They give us a whole little kit.
Did you stay at a Holiday Inn as well?
Yes, of course. So it comes with a squeegee and a spray bottle for
what's in the spray
insulation.
bottle? Is it just like
it's a cleaner?
It's a lot like tint installer. Tint. So we used to just use soap and water and then squeegee it out from underneath it. Same idea. But yeah, and then they say that you should probably peel off a layer of this. I think, what did it say, every 3 months or something? But again, if it starts to get a bunch of rock chips and that kind of thing, you tear a sheet off.
Well, that would be my interest, because like on mine, I already have, for whatever reason, we've talked about this before, the windshield on the Gladiator, even though it hasn't really been to a lot of places, like it hasn't spent a lot of time driving in the dust and the rocks of the desert, is still like incredibly pickpocked already, right?
Right.
So, but that's the windshield. Plastic is going to do that 10 times more, right?
Right.
So you're gonna have, I mean, the plastic, like, how does it handle up to windshield wiper? Because now you got a little bit thicker that's going to be hit by the windshield wiper, probably scraped easier by the windshield wiper. The plastic is going to get more hammered quicker. But now you're talking about $199. Well, just say you keep it up. You're like me, and you don't change it, and it changes up. You maybe do it once a year, so it's still a couple hundred bucks a year to preserve your windshield.
Still cheaper than insurance.
Right.
Yeah, for us, I mean, it was going to be a significant amount of money for an insurance claim.
And really, it's a thing that you should get when you first buy your rig. Like, get it brand new, throw it on there, right?
And that's why after getting her windshield changed, I'm like, this is the perfect time. Your windshield's brand new. Before we drive this thing anywhere, let's protect it.
Wow, that's cool. That's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah, I hope it. I mean,
we'll see how it goes.
It basically talks about, this is a 20-minute installation. We saw their Jeep that had one installed there, and you can see where rocks had hit it, and it didn't do anything to the windshield. We didn't peel a layer back to see how deep those rocks hit, but I don't know. I'm kind of in that mindset of any little bit of additional protection we can give things. It's like putting skid plates on your Jeep. You may have never hit a rock underneath there, but the one time you do, you kind of want something there. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I drive down the freeway, and all of a sudden you hear a rock hit your windshield, and the first thing you're doing, you're driving. And you're looking, you're looking around like, okay, where's that? Is it going to be a crack? Did it actually like just bounce off, or is it hit a spot? And am I going to be dealing with a crack in just terrifying feeling? And I'm sorry, there's rocks all the friggin' time bouncing up. Just that's the way it is. Cars
driving down a highway in back of a dump truck, which right now in Montrose, Colorado, we have a whole bunch of road construction, and just going to town is just like, wow, we're just driving down gravel roads at 30 miles an hour. Great.
Right. The fun stuff. Well, that's cool. I just love it. Like, we're just getting download from Corey today.
Man, well, it's been
we've
so
got
long.
a stack of stuff, so that's not all of it. I said I have a list a mile long.
Keep it coming.
Well, and we will have some dates coming up for what December looks like for the CTI tour. We still have some jobbers that we haven't got to, so we're going to be headed down towards Vegas, and we'll get into Arizona. I know we already have Let's Roll and Wolf Off Road and Modern Off Road scheduled for the Phoenix area in December, and then we'll either, I'm not sure if we'll get back up to Vegas before we actually going to head out to MetalCloak's world headquarters there in Sacramento to see those guys and spend some time looking at what's coming for the new year. But yeah, watch out for some dates on the CTI tour stuff as well.
Yeah, and speaking of Andrew, Let's Roll, like this weekend is his big Rocky Point Jeep Jam, which is down in Rocky Point, Mexico.
That's right.
Which is like we're a big sponsor of it, but yeah, guys, we won't be there. We'll probably have some representation down there, but
we're too busy.
It's too busy.
Let's
face it. We just had our Veterans Day sale, which was huge. Thank you everybody who supported Mission 22 by placing orders through us. It was incredible, our biggest sale ever, or biggest Veterans Day sale ever. And Mission 22 is going to be thrilled with the donation we're sending them. So great, and it was our first year partnering with them. In fact, our buddy is it Jeremy out there does
Jerry Strickland.
Yeah, Jerry Strickland. So Jerry Strickland is kind of the East Coast or Southeast representative for Mission 22. So I reached out to him to start that relationship, and it was great. And they were responsive, awesome, supportive, and I love the guys at Four Wheel to Heel. I kind of feel like they're still doing their mission, but they've kind of changed a little bit. They went from being a much larger organization, a little bit simpler organization now, and they still have their mission. And I still support them greatly, and will still be supporting them as a company. But we wanted to try something different. So we did Mission 22 this time, and we truly appreciate everybody who came out and supported the vets by making a purchase that day. But one of the reasons why we're not going and taking off here is because, of course, got Black Friday, Thanksgiving week, all that coming up now. For the I've just got, can you believe it's already next week? Like Thanksgiving is literally just like a week and a half away.
Yeah, dude. I'm like, wait, it's November? Wait, how come it's dark outside at 4:00? Wait, right. What did I miss? What has happened?
Right. Yeah. I know. It's just as crazy.
Black Friday is going to be huge.
Yeah. I just need you to do a turkey, Jessy, put it in a box, ship it to me.
I already did one turkey.
Lincoln City. So we're going to be up at Lincoln City for Thanksgiving. So just ship it to me, please. Thanks. I appreciate it.
All
no problem. Yeah. Just get it out there. Yeah. I don't even know what we're going to do for Thanksgiving because it doesn't make sense when we're up there at Lincoln City. I'm not going to bring a bunch of leftovers back. So I'm not going to make a big turkey and then bring it all the way back. So
get a turkey breast. That'll be fine.
Maybe. We have a neighbor across the way they do a lot of crabbing. And maybe we'll just kind of make a neighborhood.
That wouldn't be bad.
Neighborhood crab for Thanksgiving. That'd be awesome,
Crab boil.
Maybe like do it on the beach. Big fire on the beach with crab and
really neat.
Kids buried in the sand, they can't move,
Yeah.
Little things. Things.
I think we're gonna go over and see our friends Jody and Brian McDaniel from Alamogordo, New Mexico. They're actually gonna be up in Moab. So,
oh wow, awesome!
Yeah, we're gonna go over and get to see them for a couple of days and hit Jeremy Rowan up at Outlaw Adventures and see what he's doing. And it's gonna be it's we've had company here for the last few days, so a couple of days with nothing going on might be okay, and then we'll get back at it. So.
And we will try to do our like official Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
What we were thankful for episode next week. So you guys will all get that. So we're not going to say happy Thanksgiving to you too soon because we know it's too soon.
That's
but
right.
But yeah, going that Rocky Point event is supposed to be amazing. There's over 1,000 Jeeps going down that I understand. Like it's pretty big event. And it's just kind of gotten word out. Magazine guys are going down there. We already, our buddy John Herrick, Crawl, some other guys are heading down. And besides those that are just in the region, because off-roading is very big.
Yes, it
Down in
is.
Mexico, and
In
we have
Baja.
we have several jobbers. And Rocky Point is interesting because it's on the eastern side, right, of the Gulf of Mexico.
Yep.
And so they don't get all the attention that they usually get. And it's a short drive really from the border. It's like the same distance between Phoenix and Tucson, I think, is between the border of Arizona and Rocky Point. So it's not that
bad. Right.
It's probably a 2-lane road most of the time.
I'm sure of that.
Half of it's dirt, but it seems like a great little event. And because they're so excited to have it, like the town is really into it, right? They're pretty much coming in. It's going to be a Jeep invasion, really, in Mexico. Should be pretty cool.
That'd be really fun. I mean, and this year with Baja taking place now, but this year is a very interesting Baja race. It is a peninsula run, but they're starting in La Paz and driving to Ensenada. So to see the start of the race, you have to drive all the way to the end of the peninsula. Talking about 1,000 miles.
Right. I know. It's kind of crazy. Like some guys are actually flying in. It's 1 year worth. The guys that are in our shop are actually, I think they're flying down. They're being flown down instead of taking the Gladiator down they normally would, because it's just so far to drive it.
It's so far to drive all the way. And even if you're chasing, to drive all the way down there and then chase your way back, I mean, that's a long... I mean, I've been down there for a couple of peninsula runs, and starting in Ensenada always made more sense. Ending in La Paz, but I get it. The race is over, and there you are in La Paz. Now you got to drive all the way back home. Yeah. So that's a long trip. Right.
Yeah, and it is interesting because we are, since some of our guys here come here, and in fact, Danny, who's our he is, you've met Danny. He's awesome. And he's our head of safety and quality control and all this stuff. But he's been heavily involved in the Baja Jerky team for a long time. And so they've got a pretty good team too, from what I understand. I don't follow it as much. I just don't follow Baja racing, but that's because I just don't have time to follow everything. But it's supposed to be pretty good.
Yeah, we've got a number of friends, of course, that are down there with different manufacturers and things like that. But trying to keep up with all of it, it's hard enough. I mean, even just there's been a whole lot of news releases regarding when the 4xe Gladiator is coming, and it's been funny to kind of watch social media, and people are like, yeah, they're probably not going to make the Gladiators anymore because sales are down so much and blah blah blah. And then you have Jeep going, well, in 2 years when the 4xe is, or even maybe middle of next year when the 4xe Gladiator shows up, and it's like, oh, well, maybe sales aren't that bad. I do know that there's been a big pushback, and mostly through Ford. The article I was reading, these large battery facilities have kind of been a little bit halted. They've put the brakes on a little bit. There's a large battery facility that Ford is building in Kentucky, and it's a massive building, and they've kind of put the brakes on it a little bit just to slow things down some. And I think that maybe some of the manufacturers are realizing that there's a little bit of cart before the horse going on. I know that Stellantis is still being very aggressive towards their battery technologies, as is all the manufacturers are. But I think we might be surprised by some of the engine changes and things that we have coming up in the next couple of years. Who knows? Right.
I mean, Stellantis still has this massive goal, and Chrysler is supposed to be all electric by what, 2030 or something?
Yeah, 2028, and then I think they moved that to 2030. Yeah.
So I mean, it is pretty incredible that they're pushing for that. But heck, Elon Musk was just saying that this is what we're running out of, guys. I mean, the reality is that we're going to run out of electricity. And literally, we are going to run out of electricity. There's just not going to be enough of it if we're doing this. So we have to fix that. We have to fix the electricity problem, right? Yeah, we have to do it with better technology. So and his entire world depends on it. He goes, at some point, everything's going to be electric. Your heater, everything in your house is going to be electric. Your heater's going to be all that's going to be shifted over. The only thing that's going to be fuel, maybe rockets and some other things. Everything else is going to be changing over to electric. So as that happens, we're going to run out of those electrons we need because there's just not enough production of it. And unfortunately, we know windmills are not going to be enough, right? We know solar farms are not going to be enough. Now, Elon says you could put, what is it? Something like 100 miles of solar panels would power the entire U.S., right? It would handle the entire grid. But you also have to build an infrastructure to handle that. And we know that the infrastructure currently existing within our framework has too much drain on it, right? You send out 100% of 100 electrons here, 50 or 60 arrive over here. There's too much waste within our system.
The efficiency just isn't there yet.
Right. So how do you handle that? And if all these companies are shooting towards this goal because they've decided that that's their goal, and they're not thinking about investing in the infrastructure, right? Think about a company like Love's. I'm going to use Love's stations. They obviously were somehow involved or knew that this thing called DEF was going to be a thing, right?
Right.
So they had to build an infrastructure to deliver DEF. They had to have an infrastructure to actually utilize DEF at the pump. And they were smart enough to go, well, I'm not going to depend on a world where there's no DEF. I'm going to create my own. So they produced their own DEF. Right. And so that's where we're at the situation where none of these companies are trying to build an infrastructure, right?
No.
Oh, maybe we're going to build a battery plant, maybe, right? Tesla's the only one going, I'm building some massive factories. I'm going to put some tons of money into the infrastructure. And yes, Tesla's involved in solar, but they're not really doing solar at the scale necessary to actually power the grid, right?
Right.
They're finding ways to do it better, but so none of these companies are investing in the grid. All they're doing is investing in the usage.
Even with a company like Apple, where they have come forward and basically said they want to be whatever product they produce, they want to be efficient enough that power came from green sources. But again, they're not focusing on the grid. They're focusing on just what they're producing. And that's a huge step as a manufacturer to go, hey, we're gonna just make sure that we're using clean energy to build everything that we're making. That's huge. And
can you imagine if Apple with their $250 billion in cash, it's probably more than that now, decided, well, we're going to buy PG&E.
Right.
We're just going to buy PG&E and we're just going to revamp PG&E. We're just going to turn this old company into a new modern marvel, right? That's what really needs to happen. All these old companies, DPW, all the different companies across the country that are just these old legacy power companies, honestly need to be just taken, shaken, completely revamped, and started over. I mean, they're legacy companies using legacy systems, and in a time when we can't have that.
I know a political system that resembles that. Let me think.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah. Let's not go into politics. We don't have enough time. Speaking of time, we are kind of short today. It was meant to be a short one, and we've kind of used some of our time already. You're going to be, so just to clarify, next week's Thanksgiving, you guys going to be in Moab.
Yeah, we'll be in Moab for about the middle of the week, probably Wednesday through Saturday, something like that. So if folks are over in Moab and they want to come over and say hi, please reach out to us. And then after that, we'll be hitting the road. So we'll be headed down towards the Phoenix area that first week of December. And the second week, we'll be out there headed to MetalCloak after that. So lots going on. And please reach out if you want to go wheeling in Moab during Thanksgiving. Holler at us.
Sounds good. And of course, we're just going to be here, and we're going to be here and doing. I won't be here. I'm going to be in Lincoln City, but I will be here because I'm going to be, even when I'm on vacation. I'm not on vacation. You guys all know
that's
that.
Right.
So, but there's going to be plenty to do. We got lots happening next week with the Black Friday. If you don't hear us next week, have a happy Thanksgiving. Otherwise, we will have what we are thankful for podcast next week. Some point we'll figure out how to record that, I'm sure.
Yes.
We'll find it out. All right, my friends. Well, thanks for joining us for another great episode of the Modern Jeeper Show. Some great stuff from Corey and Jessy. And we'll see you on the trails.
Cheers.
See ya.